Mixer in 5, 4, 3. Take it away.
Hey, 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 it is August 24th, 2024. Man, I still get a little tongue tied when I say 2024. So I've been wanting this to happen for a while. Of course, me and this guy have been friends for decades and decades, as we'll get into. But this is going to be an unscripted podcast where we're going to talk a little bit about a lot of stuff. We got Clay Edwards. Of course, my name's Darrell. You can call me D, Dirty D, Darrell Arnold, whatever you want to call me. Just don't call me a Democrat, and we'll be okay. But thanks for joining us today. How you doing, Clay Edwards?
I'm good, man. How are you doing? I feel like I just left here.
You did, didn't you? Actually. But that's funny, but you did, actually. Clay Edwards, of course, radio show, big time in Mississippi. Of course, the founder of Save Jackson, and I encourage you, if you didn't watch Clay and Lindsay on Raising Liberty yesterday, go back and watch that, because if you've never heard the story, we're not going to do it again, but if you've never heard the story, go back and listen to the story of how Save Jackson started. I was there. I mean, I definitely know how it started. I remember, and it was all good. But if you weren't, I say you go and listen to their show. And you can find that on all of Clay's platforms, Lindsey Beckham's platform, Raising Liberty, Unleashed Entertainment, Darrell Arnold, Clay Edwards, all that good stuff. I think we kind of got social media covered, don't we, Clay?
Yeah, I just did that thing that everybody hates. I tagged all followers when I shared it.
Oh yeah, I did it this morning.
30,000 people on Facebook just got a Clay Edwards tagged you, and you get a mild anxiety when a big page tags you. I know I do. I'm like, what are they tagging me for?
I do too.
And I was like, and all followers. I'm like, okay.
Especially if you and I tag them, they're like,
I very rarely use it because I know people's frustrations with it. But at the end of the day, you followed me.
You did.
And, so unfollow if it bothers you.
Exactly. And I don't mean that in an ugly way, but look, I get it. I get anxiety.
I've unfollowed several bars around here that abuse it.
I abuse it on some of those. I have in the past, especially. Yeah. But you know what I'm kind
of... places I don't go. At the end of the day, I mean, I never go to... Ratliff Ferry. Nothing personal. It's just, I'm not getting up to Ratliff Ferry for nothing.
It's a long way.
Yeah, it's a long way back.
Right. And I get that. But I will say that I'm glad, since we just brought this up, that, first of all, Clay and I, we didn't this year, but we usually have a big birthday shebang because our birthdays are close, but we're both Leos, and anybody that knows us personally knows that we're a freaking Leo, if you believe in that kind of stuff.
I tell you, it does. I know I check off some of the boxes that kind of the center of attention and and all that. But I was telling somebody the other day, I'm good with either being absolute the center of attention, everybody in the room staring at me, or sitting in my house by myself for 3 days with no human contact.
No, but I'm good with that too.
Either or. I don't do in the middle well.
No, I don't either. I am glad though for back in the old days, Clay had nightclubs. He was a big promoter, always a promoter. Clay is one of those people that jumped on social media in the social media world before everybody else did.
AOL chat rooms in the Crazy 8 days.
He did. And he kind of got me into the MySpace and all that. And I'll tell you, being 10, 11 years older than Clay, I'm so glad that I got on board with that, because most people my age, they're not on board.
No.
And unfortunately, it is the way of the world. If you're not on board with social media, no matter which one you use, I don't personally care which one you use, you're behind, because things were going to, as they did, change with or without you.
This wouldn't exist without social media. Podcast.
That's what I'm talking about.
This right here. This would not exist without social media. Yes, you could upload your audio to Apple or Podbean, all that stuff, to the audio-only platforms, and just hope people find it somehow. But if it isn't for the ability to go live or share the links at minimum on social media to people of like-minded interest, none of this would exist. We've created call it the creator's economy. And this is true. It's an entire economy. I mean, it's my only job.
And I respect the hell out of you for that. And I told you a very long time ago when you first started doing all that stuff with Save Jackson, and just that alone, you were keeping up with the times, and you were a little bit ahead of the time.
Yeah, I had to play catch up. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and
Right.
And
I know y'all did.
and Daniel, I want to make sure I clear something up. I was thinking about the context of that conversation yesterday, and I think it may have sounded like I said that I was talking about I didn't have anybody to lean into when I started, because when nobody else was really doing it that I knew. And he had reached out to me when he started, and I helped him get rolling, and just some advice, just somebody to bounce stuff off of, just like when you decided to get into it. And I didn't want to come across like you wouldn't be here without me. I want to make sure I clear that up, because that's not how I intended it.
No.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I probably wouldn't. I would have maybe eventually found a way, but you rolled out the carpet for me to be able to learn how to do it properly and most effectively. So yeah, don't let it go to your head. But yeah, the reason I'm here is because of you, and I'm grateful to you for that.
Everything goes to my head.
Yeah.
I'm a Leo.
And I just want to go ahead and say this. This show, we have no sponsors. This is Clay and I having a conversation. But I do want to give a big shout out to Daniel over here, who's making it happen. And
He's opened up so many doors for people to discover their voice.
Right.
And that's what I encourage. When people ask me about it, I'm like, best thing to do until you decide if you want to invest in equipment is reach out to Daniel, pay him his rate, and decide if it's something you want to do. Do 2 dozen episodes, and if you decide that you've monetized it enough that you want to invest several $1,000s into at minimum into equipment, then by all means, I'll help you out with that. But go decide if you can even talk.
Right.
Go find out if you can stretch out a thought for an hour.
Yeah, because it's not easy. People always ask me, and I hear Clay say it as well as me, especially when we have no guest or co-host. You're literally talking to 4 walls for 2 hours or 1 hour or however long your show is. Either way, whether it's 1 hour or 2 hours, it's not an easy thing to do, to talk to 4 walls.
And it's harder. It's harder in this environment, in this room, with a producer than it is by yourself. Because at least when you're by yourself, you're sitting at the computer. You can
run the board. You can do this.
Well, you can also pull up stories. Now you can preload them and have them put them up on these screens here. But it's kind of harder to read it. And I digress. It's just you can also feed off live comments and stuff if you're doing stuff of that nature. And so that's what I really recommend people, if either this or start doing lives and engaging with the people in the comments, and just
that's really the way to do it. Yeah,
that's how I started, was Facebook Lives, and and I said it was podcast, but actually Facebook Lives is really the way I started, and then that evolved into podcast.
And also Clay was really up to par when we were, because music is obviously my background, and Clay's also as well in a different way, but Clay was also coming out and doing interviews when you first got it started with all kind of rock stars, up and coming rock stars. We were doing stuff when they shut down, when we weren't essential workers, and we were blowing that up. And look, we made traction with that. We did, not just me. We all did that together.
Yeah, we beat that drum, and I know you guys. I was at work and couldn't go, but you guys were at the
Capitol
radio station in front of the governor's mansion, wasn't it? When Tate reopened live entertainment and restaurants, took all the restrictions off and everything. I mean,
that's right.
We were out there protesting when they did it, so I was like, I make sure that people know that Darrell beat that drum.
Yeah, we beat that drum hard. But look, man, we all know that was a sham.
Who would have thought Tate Reeves would have had a face turn? From heel to face.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have. I'm bitter still about all that.
Well, I'm bitter. Of course,
nothing we can do about it.
No. But once I kind of figured out, well, of course we all did, but it was much later in the game. Once we kind of figured out that it was the tyrant public health guys that were
Dubious
really
Dobbs.
doing it. Yeah, like that loser Dobbs or Fauci on the big, scale, or whatever that chick's name was.
I
Burks.
love that.
He's got West Nile right now.
that too. Well, yeah, with Fauci, yes, that's awesome. But I mean, I love that Dobbs, the abortion bill is named after him, that overturned Roe, because I know he's against that.
And he's even hiding more than he already was.
Yeah, so just in my opinion, I don't know this to be fact, but I assume he's a Democrat. Most of the medical professional guys like that are, and he obviously was he acted very democratically.
Yes, he did.
During all that, so that gives me my proof there. But the fact that the bill that overturned Roe in the Supreme Court is named the Dobbs decision is just
that's funny.
Karma coming back to get him a little bit. That'll be his legacy.
But
thank you, Dobbs.
I can say that I was happy to see that guy go, though.
100%.
I was like, wow, good, he's gone.
100%.
And I'll also got to say this, because it's blowing completely up, and if we don't talk about it, we're complete idiots. And people may have different opinions, and that's fine. You can have whatever opinion you want, but I guarantee you Clay and I are going to give you our opinion. And me and Clay might not even agree, but we're still going to give you our opinion, because that's
whether
what
you
we
want
do.
it or not.
Because that's what we do every day. That's what we do. But I'll tell you what, man, it was mind-blowing that a Kennedy, anybody with that last name, is backing Donald Trump in the swing states.
I got home last night about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And people were sending me the clips, and I live streamed before I came over here yesterday Kennedy's press conference announcing it.
Right.
And I ran out of time. I couldn't watch all of it because I had to get over here. But it was a phenomenal speech. And I'll be honest, if he had given speeches like that, and like the one he did last night with Trump on stage, when he was just
right,
he would have probably been in the 10 to 15% approval ratings side.
I agree.
But that aside, I got home and I watched that Trump rally last night, about an hour of it anyway.
Did.
If you've seen one, you've seen them all. But this one was different.
It was different.
They put the production was like a rock concert.
Very much.
Big
so.
LED, pyro. But when Kennedy came out to Foo Fighters, There Goes My Hero, I mean, dude, it was like
unbelievable.
like a big wrestling return. I mean, it was drama. It was theatrical. It was big time.
It was big time.
And I think it stole all the headlines and the energy back from the DNC.
Thank God.
I truly, it took over the news cycle immediately.
Yeah, and they just absolutely hated that. They go from ruling the news cycle to a Kennedy backing Trump. Now, of course, the rest of his family are idiots, but
sure. Well, what I said this in a private text to some people last night. I was like, I like J.D. Vance, and I support that pick.
I do,
I have
too.
no problem. And that whole he's weird stuff, that's just the Democrats trying to convince us that he's whatever. Play y'all's little mind game. It ain't working with me. But I tell you, I was a fan of Kennedy being the VP for a unity ticket or whatever you want to call it. And there's going to be an open race in 4 years. I would not have supported him being the president because of his gun stuff and everything else. But I just thought if you really just wanted to punch him in the mouth and walk straight into the White House November 5th or January 20th or whatever, Trump Kennedy. I mean, how do you turn that down? Just the signs. I just want the sign that says it.
Yeah, I saw somebody it wasn't a real one, but a graphic artist put one up last night. Trump Vance Kennedy, and it looked so cool.
Yeah, it's just like Trump.
It just looked cool.
It does. Like I've got a Trump Vance sign in my yard now, but man, if it's at Trump Kennedy, that would just be so awesome in my lifetime, because I was born after Kennedy died. So in my lifetime to have a Kennedy sign, I would have never guessed it.
Right, nobody would.
Without me having to turn Democrat.
Right, nobody would have.
So I thought it would have been cool, and who knows what could happen.
You're right, because a lot of people say they're in panic mode, and certain part of Darrell, and I can speak for Clay on this because he used to own nightclubs, so certain parts of us, of course, we're a little nervous. We wouldn't be human if we weren't a little nervous, but it was a great feeling, though, for the Kennedy, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking, the most screwed over family by the Democrat Party ever in the history is the Kennedys. What if Trump brought him in as the CIA director who killed, supposedly, I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly, let's say allegedly on this show, who maybe had something to do with the assassination of not only his father, but his uncle. And I also love the fact that Trump said he is going to bring out all of the so-called documents the sealed documents. And look, it's time, for the sake of that poor man, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., it's time to open up all those documents. And I don't care who goes down. They should go down.
Sure. Sure.
So
Yeah.
wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, look, anything's on the table at this point, because just think back to 3 months ago. All the stuff that's happened in the last really not quite that long, but just say 3 months. Make sure I'm covering myself from it being Trump versus Biden, the debate debacle, Biden
assassination
attempt, Biden getting booted, the Kamala Harris picking a progressive nut job in Tim Walz, Kamala becoming the candidate, which I still
can't believe that.
Why? They're playing the football. I mean, they keep beating up the football analogy with Tim Walz and all that. Coach, anyway, but using a football analogy, they're just hoping that Team Blue is big enough that it doesn't matter who the candidate is.
That's what they're doing. And I would be a liar if I sit here and said that I wasn't worried about it. There's two ways I answer that question to people. They go, Darrell, are you worried about, they're getting all this and they're getting all that? I'm like, well, am I worried? Of course I'm worried. But if it was a free and fair election, I wouldn't be worried at all. I'm more worried about that part than I am the actual, can Trump beat Kamala?
No, look,
I mean,
everybody keeps saying
because
that.
anybody with common freaking sense, and there's a lot more people than those idiots that were up at that Democrat National Convention, that a lot of them got paid to be there, first of all. There's a lot more common sense people, and I don't even mean Republicans. I mean Kennedy followers. I mean people who are not idiots in this country than there is that small, progressive, idiotic party. It's just got to be fair.
Yeah. Something I'm really fed up with, and Trump talked about this last night in his speech. He's like, my people keep telling me that I need to stop with the personal insults.
Right.
He's like, well, they've made it personal.
They have for years.
They've made it personal, and they got up there at the DNC, and they personally attacked this man. Why doesn't anybody, like Sean, my buddy Sean, co-host, will say,
Right.
He'll say, middle of the road voters, they just want to hear about the policy, just about the policy, just talk about her policy, da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't disagree. Her resume speaks for itself, in my opinion, or lack thereof.
Sure.
But it's okay for the middle of the road voters like it when she goes personal. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
But
It's
that's all they kinda have to, right.
It's the double Democrat double standard.
Exactly.
We can get as personal as we want,
But you can't.
but you can't. Yeah, you're talking about a black cis woman. If you're doing it, and like, no, screw you. We're going to talk about you.
Or you're talking about a Latino, or you're talking about a woman, period. And they, to be the party of a woman, and I know everybody's heard the joke, and they can't define what a woman is. So I just don't understand anymore.
I've lost all respect for feminists. They
Well, they've done it to themselves. They've done it to themselves. They really have.
It's comical at this point. You got feminists defending men playing women's sports, and
Yeah.
what is a woman? And me and Lindsay beat this dead horse yesterday a good bit.
I know, that's
but,
why
and
I'm
I
not
know this is a
gonna-
different show.
right.
It doesn't matter. But it's just, what are we talking about, guys?
Right.
What
are we doing? I heard you say that yesterday, and I'm like, really? What the hell are we doing, y'all?
Like, I'm not going to entertain it. Like I said, if we can't agree on what that is, we mean you have nothing else to talk about.
Zero.
I'm not entertaining nothing else that comes out of your mouth. If you're a trans rights matters person, trans lives matter, whatever.
Or the bathroom, or all the other crap.
None of it.
And when
I'm not playing make believe with you.
and me and Clay talked the other night briefly, and my podcast took off in a lot of other states as well, so I do a lot of national stuff as well. And Clay does huge stuff on social media platforms, and we're to the point now where both of us agree on this, and we agreed on the phone the other night. The amount of stupidity on the comments that we get, I just don't respond.
No,
I don't
even
have the
read 'em.
energy.
I rarely read them. I'll see something like I did today on Facebook, and I'll respond to something just incredibly stupid.
But all the 96 or 296 idiotic comments, I'm like, you know what?
Joe Rogan said it best. He's like, post and ghost. He's like, it will consume you,
It will.
And it will. It used to consume me. I'd be all up in the comments. What are people saying? Oh gosh, somebody call me a racist. Well, that could cost me my job. But I don't care anymore. Call me whatever you want. Just don't call me collect when you're in jail.
That's right. I like that. Yeah.
I don't care.
I love that one, actually. But, yeah, I don't read them either unless it's, because TikTok's a different world than, say, Facebook, for sure. And then Facebook's a different world than Instagram, and X is definitely a different world than all three of the others.
Well, they're all extremely different, and that's why I create purpose content, platform specific content for each one.
And you have to, or they'll kick you off.
Yeah, well, they will. I mean, I figured out a little loophole on Instagram and TikTok because they're really the same thing, at least with the Reels.
Yeah.
I go into CapCut, make your video there, and then you can upload it to. You can use the same video for both. But other than that, I try to make everything different.
Yeah, and you have to because they kind of, some of them, of course, some of it's the same audience, but a lot of it is definitely not the same audience. When you're talking TikTok and Facebook, it's 100% not the same audience almost.
100%.
And people my age, unfortunately, didn't engage in the newer, we talked about this earlier. At this point, you got to catch up unless you're just going to stand back and not give a damn. But if you do something like we do, we're creators and we want to keep up with the cycle, for over 20 years now, we can't depend on TV for that anymore, obviously. So that's why all this alternative media, like Clay, like whoever's doing it, it doesn't matter if it's somebody in Madison, Wisconsin, or Madison, Mississippi. Whoever's doing the alternative media, they're just trying to get the truth out, man. They're just trying to beat the mainstream wall, because that's what they are. They're protection for corruption.
Yes. Facebook is eventually going to run its course.
It is,
it's
of
not
course
getting
it
any. If you're not growing, you're dying.
It is.
It's not growing.
MySpace ran its
course.
Yeah.
TikTok, we'll see what happens there with the ban. Surely they're not going to leave the money on the table by just shutting it down. I can't foresee that happening.
I never was really for that one.
And
anyway.
and I've made it clear to Michael Guest that it was my main source of income, and if he cut it off, if he voted no or he voted to ban it, we were going to have a forever problem, and we have a forever problem. I'm not a supporter of Michael Guest, and I will back any. And I mean, I'll be frenemies with him. I mean, we work out at the same gym.
Yeah,
I see him, and I'm cordial. I'm not rude to people.
Sure,
but I will
understand
publicly back anybody Republican that runs against him.
Well, first of all, you shouldn't. You just shouldn't. It's just not smart.
I don't.
It's just not smart.
Why ban stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, we were here. I was talking about Gene McGee in here yesterday, and getting Kratom banned in Ridgeland.
I read that in the quote Madison County Journal.
What are we doing? Why are we banning things? What did you interview anybody that uses it to battle their addictions?
Right.
Did you talk to anybody? Are you aware that now there's a fentanyl crisis in America?
Right.
And the people who have used Kratom to get off opioid addiction will now probably end up back, especially people who are doing it to battle legitimate pain, and they made it impossible to get pain medicine from doctors. And that's one of the law of unintended consequences when the Trump administration really cracked down on opioids, which I'm not against it, but they turned off the faucet and people had to find alternatives. In the meantime, like people who were legitimately getting medicine from their doctors, not people who were addicts in the street, but they turned them into addicts in the street when they cut off the faucet.
Reason, right.
And a lot of them people discovered Kratom at that point, but it created the black market for more pain pills, which created the black market for fentanyl. People aren't going out there buying fentanyl intentionally. They're buying pills that are laced with fentanyl. And I think you're going to push a lot of people in this area towards that, and they're going to end up dying.
If not already.
Yeah, a lot more people are going to die that end up back on their addiction because you took the one lifeline away from them. I think it's very foolish, and I'd be surprised. One or two things. I did a video about this on my YouTube at SaveJXN if anybody wants to go really dive into it. But one or two things. I would like to see if Big Pharma has made any political donations to these mayors around here who are all deciding to suddenly attack Kratom and ban it. I would also I know one of the things that got it banned in Brandon was you had a couple of parents whose little Timmy and little Susie, were getting their hands on it, and they freaked out and, demanded it being banned because their kid bought something legal at a gas station. Well, look, man, I know people have said this a million times and it gets beat upside the head. I could walk in. I stopped by CVS to get some lip balm on my way over here. I could have grabbed a bottle of Tylenol, finished that bottle of Tylenol off, and it'd been the last thing I put in my mouth.
Exactly.
And you don't have to go get it from behind the counter or be 18 to buy it.
Right. Or quite a few other things in that store.
Absolutely.
Right.
I walk in the liquor store and buy a bottle of 151, and if I drink that whole thing, it'll be the last thing I drink.
That's right.
So I think just jumping quick to ban stuff without doing your homework. There were 8 bills put forth at the Capitol legislative session this year. 8 that talked about banning Kratom, and every single one of them failed. And you know how much homework and stuff is put into bills.
I do.
And
a lot, actually.
A ton. And every single one failed. It's for a reason, because this stuff ain't dangerous. There's zero proof that it's dangerous. And I don't want to turn this into the Kratom show.
There's zero proof that TikTok's dangerous.
Exactly.
Does China maybe I don't know. And I really don't care, to be quite frank. That's just me.
I don't either.
I'm not making a decision for the rest of y'all out there watching. Ooh, Darrell's taking up for TikTok. No, I'm taking up for free speech. That's what I'm
even the speech I don't like.
Exactly.
If there's some trans nut
Thank you very much.
If there's some trans nut jobs on TikTok,
they have the right to do that.
Trying to influence your kids, it's up to you to be a parent.
You got to police your kids.
I mean, I believe that this trans stuff is a social contagion, and it is
starting.
Starting online in places like TikTok, but fight against it. That's why I joined TikTok, was to be a conservative voice for younger people.
And there's a lot of us on there, believe it or not.
And look, we had to walk a high wire to not get kicked off. We had to word
every
salad.
Day.
We a word ninja.
We got to put out more word salad than Kamala.
Exactly, to
just to not get
around the
off.
bush, but to get around the censors. I mean, and you just got to fight back. You got to be on the battlefield.
That's right. If you're not in the fight, you can't win.
Banning the battlefield isn't the fight, because it's just going to create another battlefield. You got to be where the fight's at. It's the reason I'm on X. It's the reason I'm on TikTok. It's the reason I'm on Instagram. If it was just me, I'd probably just be on Facebook.
Probably. Or maybe, Instagram for some pictures or something.
That's the one it's just for its like personal content consumption. Facebook is probably my number one.
Of course.
Place.
But that's the way we all are.
For work and show prep, it's X.
Got to be, because X is on top of their game. Because Elon Musk, when he took it over, he allowed it to go back to people. Free speech. It's that simple.
It's free speech.
As much as they want. As much as they hate that guy, the reason they hate that guy,
man,
is because of the 2 words that we just said, free speech. That's why they hate him.
Man, look, I'm gonna say the first cuss words on here. Those fucking anger addicts can eat shit and die angry.
Yeah, well, that's what they. I mean,
I don't.
It doesn't do. Do you honestly? Well, we all know, but I mean, I'm sure everybody watching this knows too. Elon Musk doesn't care, and he shouldn't care.
I mean, that's how he feels too. Just eat shit, die angry. We feel the same way.
And I like to ask people like that, and they don't know how to answer. I just say, "Why are you so mad?"
Yeah, I remember
why are you so mad?
The first successful TikTok I ever made was the day the Dobbs decision came down. I pulled over on the side of the road, and at the gas station right there next to the KFC on Highway 80 and down in Brandon by the Great Daniel stores. I guess it's a Circle K now, maybe. I pulled over in that parking lot. I pulled out my phone, and I was like, y'all can't kill babies no more. Eat shit, die angry. And man, did they get angry.
Oh, yeah,
but
I'm sure they did.
I don't remember the entire context of the video. It was about them not being able to kill babies anymore, and there was the eat shit die angry part on the end. Man, that's when I learned to not read the comments on my TikTok anymore.
I can honestly say though, and I'm pretty sure Clay and anybody out there listening would agree, when we were going to see Poison in 1989 or 1992, depends on what year and tour it was, whatever year it was, I had no idea that we would have a Democrat National Convention with a freaking baby killer bus out in the parking lot, and they'll clip your nuts while you're in there too. And dude, that is the country. The country that we're living in now if you are a progressive Democrat. I cannot understand that. I cannot. Maybe it's because I'm older than y'all. I can't fathom that, man.
Going into the last day of the Democrat National Committee convention, they had killed 25 babies on that bus.
That is insane to me.
And they don't even count the clipping on men.
Oh yeah, the clipping, yeah, of course.
Clipping on, a bunch of beta males.
Oh yeah,
Daniel,
white dudes for Kamala.
Daniel, if I send you something, can you play it?
You know he can.
What is either text me an email address if you don't want to say it out loud, or tell me your email.
Daniel, can you text it to me?
Yeah, I can text it to you. Even better. I got this clip here of CNN, and don't ruin it because I want people to hear it. But it's of CNN admitting exactly who the male Democrat voting base is, and I'm sure people out there have listened. They know, but for the folks, for the benefit of those that have not had a chance to hear this, it is absolutely
gold.
And this is CNN talking about the male Democrat voter. Daniel, I just hit CNN. It'll come through any second.
And I'm not going to ruin the clip at all, but when they first came out with that white dudes for Kamala, I mean, you talking about.
Again, and these are the same people that get mad at me when I talk about race-specific stuff.
Oh, yeah, always. Every single time, the exact same, quote, crowd, whatever you want to call them.
It's funny because I just use their rage bait, clickbait titles. I just flip them. In this modern era, you're not allowed to mention anybody black's race unless it's something bad happened to them by somebody of another color, or they were some type of accomplishment. First black this, or young black girl did this, or whatever. It's just something that makes them look like a victim or a conqueror. But if it makes them look like an idiot, you're not allowed to do it. So anytime something makes them look like an idiot, I specifically say black person ... So I just use that's their rules. It's their rules of engagement.
Their rules, and they still going to hate them.
Lindsay, and God forbid, and they do it anytime it's a white guy. Anytime it's a white guy, it's two white males breaking a house. Okay, well, I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either.
But just but keep the same energy across the board. Why don't we celebrate when a little young white girl graduates first in her class, or an
trying
Indian?
To put forward male figures, Tim Walz being one of them, Doug Emhoff last night, who can speak to men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden, gun-toting kind of guy who wants to listen to Hulk Hogan and the kind of players that came out at the RNC, or might want to listen to that, but also, in addition, understand that it's okay in 2024 to be a man comfortable in his own skin who supports a woman.
Daniel,
and that's something that they really are trying to work on with.
I want to reset this and let people know. This is CNN at the DNC admitting that the demographic of men that's Dana Bash. She was one of the moderators of the last debate. And that is them admitting that all Democrat men, or the demographic of men they're going after, are low testosterone, basically gay men, weak men.
Yeah.
All gay men ain't weak, by the way. I mean, I've got several gay friends who I don't want to get in a boxing ring with.
I do too, actually.
So I'm not talking about them.
No.
But this is that weak, soy, low testosterone, vegans, you know what I mean?
I do.
Little cuck,
exactly what you mean.
Cuck male. Daniel, play that first half again.
Tim Walz's son.
Yes, Tim Walz.
Yeah.
Trying to put forward male figures, Tim Walz being one of them, Doug Emhoff last night, who can speak to men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden,
That's good.
gun-toting kind
She's
of
got
guy
to throw
who
Hulk in there
wants to-
too. It's like, really, come on now.
I just love that. I love that they admit that the demographic they're going out is low testosterone.
I knew you would.
I mean, like the second I heard it, I mean, mine's clicking in at over 1,000 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, so I laugh so hard when I think that because there was another post that went viral. Maybe it was Reddit. A girl said, "Where do you find a good Democrat man that's masculine?" She said all the she said all the.
I've seen that. Actually.
She said all the masculine men out there are conservative Trump supporters. I'm like, well, yeah, well, yep. Sorry about your luck.
And it's gotten to the point now where we were talking a little bit about this earlier, but before we started the show. But if you're a single male, or quite frankly, a single female who is not a progressive left idiot, wingnut, hypocrite, then you can go on any of these dating sites and they will literally put it up there. I'm not looking for one of those white male Republicans. It's like, good, because I wasn't looking for that either.
Like there's a crew of white chicks out
Weirdos,
here
man.
who are banging black dudes just to prove they're not racist.
And it's horrible. I mean,
Like,
but really,
okay.
it's just for the point. Yeah, it's no other reason.
They're not doing it because it's an attraction. They're literally doing it because they think it's a virtue signal. I'm like, look, screw whoever you want to screw. I don't care.
Yeah, me
I'm
either.
going to.
Right,
You know,
I don't
but,
care either.
But I think it's funny that they have drug politics into their sex lives.
God, man, that's so crazy. And as you know, I'm over here on the Madison County Republican Party, and I think Mike Hurst has got some great ideas on.
That's a hell of a transition.
I know. I don't want to forget about it because, you know, I'm so used to doing a show by prep. You know, I understand.
I'm with you. Now, Mike's a great guy. I had him on the show last week or two ago.
I did, and I just wanted to comment on that, saying I thought y'all did a great job because he has got a lot of great ideas on how to move the, quote, Republican Party of the 2024s, 2026s forward.
I was wildly impressed. I went to the GOP executive committee meeting,
Right.
the state GOP executive committee meeting that afternoon with Fred Shanks, and the way Mike ran the meeting, and this is no knock against Boudreaux, I think was his name that ran it previously.
Yeah, Frank.
He
I didn't really know
he was
him,
there,
but yeah, he was a good guy. Yeah,
he was there too, and anyway, they decided to make a change at the top, and Frank's still involved, and now
Sure.
Mike Hurst is the guy, and so I can't speak on how Mike ran meetings or commanded the room or anything like that. So I just want to make clear this is not a knock or anything negative against Frank Boudreaux. But man, the way Mike ran that meeting and the things Mike hit, bro, I'm not even a member of the Mississippi GOP. I'm just vote Republican. But I was ready to run through a wall and start banging on doors in any town that they needed me to run through and knock on doors by the time I got through. And the point that they made and the people that are getting activated, the true grassroots,
right, the real grassroots,
the real grassroots, not just some candidate that's running against Benny Thompson.
Sure,
you know, and that's no knock against people like that, but
yeah, I know,
you know, just calling yourself grassroots and true grassroots, it's two different things. There's a lot of these people that call themselves grassroots that ain't grassroots, and that was I didn't mean to roll him under the bus like that, but it's one of the things that I learned pretty quick into my radio career. It took about a year or one election cycle. I was quick to get behind everybody that was coming out of COVID. I was quick to get behind everybody that was just not part of the quote unquote establishment. Mm-hmm. And we lost all those. None of them people won. And I was like, you know, we got to reorganize. We got to relook at how we do this. Otherwise, we're always going to have our names attached to people who will lose elections because we're so anti-establishment. I think Lindsey Beckham kind of led the way on this, and
she did.
I think she realized before I did that, you know, sometimes you got to work. And Kim Wade said it too. So you got to work with the people that you got, and figure out a way to make them respect you and want to work with you enough that you can get things done together. And so I said, I'm going to quit supporting. I know I said what I said about Michael Guest earlier. That's different. That's personal.
Right.
Right. He fucking with my money. You know what I mean?
I understand.
So that's different. But you know, state legislature wise, not national congressmen and senators, I'm not going to get behind anybody anymore unless they're running against a Democrat. I'm not going to support.
Oh yeah.
I'm not picking any more Republican versus Republican. I'm staying out of that.
I'm not either.
One of my big things this year.
I'm done with that.
Yeah, one of my big things this year is I know we're on the verge of a nuclear war within our party.
Absolutely.
You know, with the barstool conservatives versus the white collar country club conservatives, the elitist. Mm-hmm. You know, basically MAGA versus establishment.
That's exactly
what it is. If MAGA loses this election, the establishment wins.
Right.
You know, if MAGA wins, we're gonna have won the internal battle too with the conservative party. It's our party now. So it's bigger than just Trump.
Oh yeah.
It's going to trickle down to Mississippi and what the expectation of the Republican Party is moving forward.
And I like it. I hope it does.
I do, because I think that we spent way too much. And I'm a Christian. I was in church Wednesday for the first time in a
Absolutely.
year or so. I'm going back tomorrow. I'm a Christian, but it's not my calling card. Politics and Christianity shouldn't be your calling card. I want to make sure I word this right. I may bungle this a little bit, but we've been in a battle with losing younger voters, beating them upside the head with the Bible for a while now. Conservatism means small government.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean us nosing in people's bedrooms
And thinking we're better.
You know, I do think that the one thing that conservatism does, one of the things is the fight for abortion. We can't be killing babies. Come on. You know,
No, and don't get me wrong. I agree. I agree that we are better at some things.
yeah, like to me that
in
is
my opinion.
and that to me that shouldn't even be a Christianity thing. That's
Right,
just
that's
a moral,
common moral.
sense thing. There, you know, we shouldn't be having abortion. But outside of that, I think too many Christian conservatives have made morality
Yeah.
too important, and we're losing young voters. I mean, look, bro, I'm 47 years old. I still like to go have a good time.
Of course.
I still want to see a nice pair of titties. But
I
it
mean,
doesn't
there's
mean
nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean you're a bad person.
I like girls with big butts. I mean, you know, and most people do, is my point. And we run around and pretend we don't. And then that's why you see so many Republican politicians getting caught, you know, in sex scandals or gay sex scandals or whatever. And it's a scandal not because they did it, but because they politic against it and then go do it. We need to quit that. We need to be a little bit more open arms to people and understand that, hey, again, it's about government, not about morality.
That's right.
You can't legislate morality anyway.
It's about small government.
Yep.
Really. But we do need to be, like Mike had brought up, that we do need to be reaching out to our young community stronger than we ever have before to do exactly what you said. Look, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to go to the so-called big, I'm not going to name any names on here because I'm not getting in that argument, the so-called big churches.
Six Flags over Jesus.
Yeah, all that stuff. You don't have to do all that to be a conservative.
No.
You don't have to. And we are not going to judge you because maybe you don't go to church at all. We're still not going to judge you.
No.
We're looking to grow a stronger, true conservative party, which means small government and believe in the freaking Constitution.
You know, and Trump, I think, is the guy to take us there. Ironically, an 80-year-old or soon to be 80-year-old New York billionaire. He's resonated. He's become a pop culture icon. He's resonated with the younger crew, and he's anti-establishment to them. And I think him opening the door and going on podcasts like Theo Vaughn's and
the gamers and all that.
Yeah, and all this, and he's getting in front of millions and millions of apolitical people who only know him via sound clips on CNN and MSNBC that make him look like the boogeyman or just what they've said, and you get these long-form sit-down conversations that the mainstream media can't control and manipulate. I think it's good. And my point being with that is we should be here in the state level should be looking at that and saying, you know, that clip got 10 million views. Who are those people?
Yeah, exactly. Or that clip got 5 million views for that is. But Mississippi, and I'm not saying that I dislike any of these people because I don't, but Mississippi has kind of forced a lot of people, you know, forced them to be that same church, that same Sunday. You can't miss it. And believe me, I'm a Christian. I am not talking bad about going to church, and you're free to go to whatever church you want to. But it shouldn't have anything to do with politics.
Yeah, I must sound like
it shouldn't have anything to do with politics.
I'm gonna sound like a bit of a hypocrite here because I did open up my show the other day and got on this long-winded rant about how I quit going to church for a year and a half because I was upset that the church didn't get involved in politics in this time that we're in, the white conservative church at the end of the day. I mean, I don't know a better way to say it. We have segregated ourselves, white and black people. There's black churches, there's white churches, predominantly.
That's not our fault. That's way before our time, right?
And the black church makes sure that their folks know what Democrat to go vote for.
They do.
Period. They let them get up there and speak. And politics doesn't stay out of religion, but our religion has chosen to stay out of politics. And and I know for the sake of, I sound like a hypocrite here based on what I just got through saying, but I do think it's the church's responsibility somewhat to explain to people the importance of, if you're a Christian, the importance of conservatism. And, you know, and like, hey, if you don't know who to vote for, you can't be a Democrat and a Christian. You can't support killing babies.
No, I agree with you on that
and
part.
be a
You're
Christian.
right. You're right. My bad on that one, because you're right.
You just can't. I don't know.
Because you can't be it's not really a church at that point. It's just, you can't be a Christian
I got
human
fired up.
being if you believe in the evil that's going on the progressive left side of that Democrat Party. You just can't.
But so with that said, as a conservative Christian, not a Christian conservative,
Right.
as a conservative Christian, I still don't think it's our responsibility to beat people upside the head and tell them that if they enjoy a good time, all sin ain't equal. I'm sorry. It just ain't. You can't tell me. Let me circle back. Let me finish my thought, and then I'll go to that. We just need to meet people where they're at sometimes.
Yep, absolutely.
I think that's the best way to say it. We need.
And everybody's not at the same place.
Man, like what Daniel and a lot of these guys do, that especially these guys that do prison ministry and this recovery stuff, Eddie Poole, Aubrey, that whole bunch,
Benny.
Benny Ivy,
There's quite a few.
Bradley Hancock, several others that really, they go meet people where they're at versus forcing you to they go find the guy while he's high in the street or in jail. They don't go drag that guy to church before they disciple to him. We got to meet people where they're at, and it may be the bar, it may be wherever. You know, sitting on the bar stool when I'm going to have a drink when I leave here. I'm going to meet some friends, and I may be sitting beside a complete stranger at whatever bar we end up at, and
you might open up a conversation with that complete stranger.
Exactly.
And you guys may be
polar opposites,
but yet you may also be great friends from that point on.
Me and Sean disagreeing a lot, and I've opened up to seeing things differently in the last year or so that he's been on the show, and he's opened up to seeing things differently. We've never had a knockdown, drag-out argument yet because we have a respectful conversation.
Exactly, and just now take it how you want to take it, but I'm giving you from an outside perspective. Sean is a good guy, first of all. And Sean, in my opinion, from hearing him talk on your show, by being a listener, not involved, being a listener, Sean is not a progressive Democrat, though.
No, he's a traditional liberal. Which
he is a traditional. It is totally different. Like, Sean doesn't think it's cool to do all this whacked out stuff they're doing now.
No, he's against it.
Right.
Yeah.
He's totally against it. I have no problem with those kind of people. Unfortunately, the progressive left hijacked the Democrat Party.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You know, and unfortunately for them, the problem is they still, and I don't want to speak for Sean on here.
I understand.
But just that old school liberal is still voting Democrat because they feel like they're lost on an island. Mm-hmm. And because there is no real legitimate third option.
There's not.
You can be a libertarian mindset, but you're not going to have a libertarian president. I mean, unfortunately, the two-party system is rotten, but it rules the roost. So, but they're part of the problem, unfortunately, because they're still voting for these people and their progressive policies that are destroying America.
That's right.
And I take that personal.
I do too.
That's my problem. But I'm trying to pivot a little bit because you can get just as many flies with honey as you can shit. And I'm trying to have conversations with people. Now, there's going to be my days on my radio show where I rant and rave and they're by myself for 2 straight hours and I offend a bunch of people, and that's fine too.
Right.
But if people want to come on and talk and talk professionally, and how I was thinking about that on the way over here. It's like I'm thinking about putting out an interviewee application online. It's like, I want to start talking to some complete strangers.
Sure.
People who aren't in the culture war necessarily, but people from the other side or people from Jackson that may disagree with me. But hey, just let me check your resume.
Right.
What makes you think you can do it? But I want to start having more conversations. Maybe it's not on the radio. Maybe it's in this room. Whatever. It's been a goal of mine for a while to start a podcast, an interviewing podcast, like how I got started, like me and you were doing right now. And I just had not had the time till here recently to do it. But I was thinking about it on the way over here. It's like, well, who are the guests? But anyway, point being, I want to start talking to people like maybe happens today. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And
I try to engage with people the same way because you know me. I've always been like you. Yeah. We're very personal. We talk to people when we're out and about, and we talk to all walks of life.
I was walking
Even
in.
though it's hard for me to find anybody, and I'm just being honest, I'm not being cocky. It's hard for me personally to find anybody that is a progressive left idiot. Have you noticed that? Have you been really found many?
No.
Besides the keyboard warrior?
No.
Me either.
They don't speak out publicly. I mean, I'm sure I could go find some. Oh, I remember what I was
We
gonna tell
could
you.
if we wanted to.
I got fired up the other day. We were talking about the church a second ago. Well, I was watching WLBT or WABT, and they were doing a story about something. And I'm trying to watch the local news a little bit more, like in their 30-minute segments, not just the clips online. And they were talking about something, dude. And they were at a church. It had to be in Fondren or Belhaven because that's where these nut jobs hang out the most. And that's not a knock on Fondren and Belhaven. They're nice areas.
It's just the truth.
It's just that's where the white liberal nut job
That's
roams
where they
around the
are.
most
Right.
in those areas. And it's the place I least desire to be is around them. But I do like the area. I love all the stuff there, the restaurants, the bars,
me
the
too.
tap room, the brewery. I think all that's phenomenal. Great job to everybody that's reinvested in Jackson. But there was a church they were at, and it was a bunch of white liberals in there. And, dude, on the wall in that church was a transgender, that transgender flag. You know which one I'm talking about. It ain't the normal rainbow. It's this other one they've been,
Right.
if you can actually make it look like the Nazi symbol, the swastika, if you position it
it's
right.
all weird looking. It's not like the Rainbow Bar
No,
and
it's
Grill.
got straight lines and
not-
stuff.
It's not
really
like the Rainbow Bar and Grill.
No. No. And I was like, why is that in a church? That goes against everything. And they're trying to manipulate the word. And look, I can't quote a lot of scripture, but I've heard a ton of it over my life.
Me too.
And I'm pretty sure in that Bible that it doesn't co-sign on any of that stuff.
I can promise you, if it does, how could we have missed it for 47 and 58 years?
Yeah, so I want to go back to I was getting on a rant a minute ago, and I stopped myself. I want to go back to what my thought before I forget it about all sin not being the same. Now, there's people who will tell you that all sin is equal, and I don't believe that. I refuse to believe that if I make it through my entire life without murdering somebody or
Sure.
Bringing pain upon people, that the guy who went to prison for murder and finds God out of convenience or for whatever reason in that prison. I still think people need to find God. Don't get me wrong. I don't want this to come across wrong because it's going to. Because I don't know. I'm not articulate enough to put this out there. Maybe somebody can help me with it. But I don't believe that you can walk out in that parking lot, blow a guy's brains out. Maybe this is a better analogy. Walk in that parking lot, blow a guy's brains out, then ask for forgiveness, and we go to the same heaven. I just don't. So
I'm not arguing with you.
So my point with that is, is with conservatives trying to beat people upside the head with morality is, okay, maybe the gay stuff will send people to hell. Okay, well, so does, if we're going to play this game, so does out of marriage, out of wedlock sex.
Yeah.
So does being fat, gluttony.
Oh yeah, sins are
So is every fat person going to hell?
right.
Using that
Analogy, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I know people think I'm homophobic because I speak out against the trans agenda and the LGBTQ agenda. It's two different things.
I understand, but everybody doesn't understand. I do.
Yeah, it's two different things. The agenda to convert children and to normalize all this immorality, and the people who are just your average everyday gay folks, it ain't the same thing.
They're not. As a matter of fact, most of them like Trump.
Yeah, and so I hate that they've been lumped in.
I do too.
With the T's, and there are a lot of them that feel like it's their obligation to defend the T's, the trans, and they're in this agenda that they've put forth, and I think they've been brainwashed. I think just like black Democrats have been
brainwashed in fear.
In fear that they have to defend.
Right.
They have to defend the lowest common denominator of their culture. Just your black thugs in Jackson that are running around doing drive-bys and mass shootings. They get more upset with like good God-fearing black folks on my Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or wherever. They get more upset with me talking about the crime than they are the criminals for the crime because they feel like it's an attack on black people.
Sure.
It's not an attack
But
on
it's
black
not.
people. It's an attack on these thugs that are in this urban black culture in Democrat cities like Jackson. It is an attack on that because the culture got poisoned somewhere along the well got poisoned, so to say, somewhere along the way.
And all these bigger black cities, unfortunately, inner cities with the bigger black population, it's not because they're black. It's because of the way it is now.
Yeah,
the crime is there.
Kim Wade called it Democrat death culture.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, Democrat death culture. And everybody just runs around and continues to make apologies for these people, or not apologies, but excuses for, it's poverty. Poverty doesn't translate to immorality.
No. It also doesn't translate to going out, and just shooting somebody for no reason.
I mean, that's beyond poverty. That's 2 generations plus of no father, and then monetizing the welfare system. They've made it a career to keep the father out of the home.
Absolutely.
And the matriarchy ain't working, son.
And it's, look, if you
were, not a knock on single moms either, by the way, that are not single by choice, that
right.
For whatever reason the father's not in the home, died, got divorced, whatever.
Because we know some absolute rock star single moms.
100%. So the single moms get mad at me when I make my single mom, but it's not. It's two different kinds of single moms too.
Yep.
It's single mom because you're having babies as a profession.
Yeah.
And there's single moms who ended up that way because of whatever the circumstances.
Circumstantially.
And whatever it is.
And that's a huge issue. And for anybody out there listening that may be younger and wasn't quite paying attention to politics, Obama's first and part of his second term, I lived in California. I started to pay attention around, 2009. But really, all this is, Clay, and I'm right, this is all Obama's dream, which is what's going on now. It's his third term. He's open for a fourth. It's everything he said he was going to do. I'm going to transform this country. Unfortunately, once that message, that ludicrous message got into the school system, it's been going on, man. And this new generation, they started them out young with this ideology politics, all this crazy, whacked out progressive stuff.
You go into a public school in Jackson, and the only black history that they have hanging up everywhere is bad things that happen to black people. Not black accomplishments, not American accomplishments. We really got to get back to separating this. We got to quit separating black and white history.
And we got to quit erasing history.
We do. Teaching black folks from a young age that every problem in their community is because of white racism is creating a monster. And we're there. We're at the peak of that monster's strength, and we've really got to figure out a way to. And that's the argument I have with them. It's like, your problems ain't my problems, and they're not my fault. I want no part of that.
No, never. Wasn't even born.
They have segregated themselves from everybody, and they call it white flight. Like, look, it's the American dream. I don't care if you're white or black. The modern American dream is to get away from Democrat trash. Like, the second black folks get some money, they move out to the suburbs too. You know what I mean? Like, people don't want to be around that. Why would you want to be around it if you don't have to?
That's right. You wouldn't.
I'm not moving to the trailer park.
Mm-mm.
I would say no. Not some trailer parks are nice. It is what it is. But you know what I mean. If we're going to use the white trash pun here,
right.
I'm not going to move to the trailer park. I'm not going to move to Jackson. Why would I move Why would I move around trash?
Yeah, hell, you just got out anyway.
Yeah, I did my time.
You did it.
I ain't going back.
The
Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. People want to go where they feel safe. I want to be able to stop at a gas station and not have to worry about getting shot for a bullet that is or not intended for me.
And a lot of people say, well, I hear Darrell or Clay or Kim Wade or whoever it may be talking about all these shootings in Jackson and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but what are they lying about? They're just telling you the truth. The news,
making it up.
It's happening. Just because you're uninformed doesn't mean it's not happening, okay? Just because and guess what? It's not just happening in Jackson, by the way. You could live in Chicago or you could live in Minnesota, but all these things have one thing in common: Democrats running the states, or Democrats running those cities. That is the one thing. Now, if you can't connect the dots, you're an idiot to me. I'm sorry.
Well, look, they insist on making everything black versus white and black and white. So I will say this, using their rules of engagement, that why don't any of these gas station murders happen in the white-controlled suburban areas? Why do they only seem to happen in the black Democrat-controlled cities? And that's a serious question there. It's going to make people mad because I said white and black. But it's the truth. Why is that only a problem in the cities that they're in control of?
But I mean,
I know the answer. It's a cultural issue. It's a Democrat death culture.
But it is nationwide.
Yeah, and we don't have white Democrat cities in Mississippi. You have black Democrat cities. You have white conservative cities. We don't have white Democrat controlled cities. So that's the other reason I specify it like that.
But another part of the quote Republican Party moving forward over the next 4 years. I'm not talking. I mean, look, we got whatever it is, 70 days left. Y'all, a lot can happen in 70 days. So everybody should be getting off their butts right now and going. I don't care if Trump hurt your feelings by talking like Clay or Darrell or Trump. It doesn't matter if he hurt your feelings. The country is going to be done a lot quicker, and I think it's really going to be done if that ticket wins, especially with Walz and Kamala. It is a done deal if they win. So get off your butts. We all know the tricks that the Democrats are trying to do through these inner cities, bringing it all. So if you're a Republican or a conservative for that matter, or if you just want a better country, I don't care if you're a Democrat and you're stuck. Don't be stuck. Go out and vote, y'all, because it sounds corny, and all the corny announcers say it, but it's true. We have to make the numbers so much bigger.
Too big to rig.
We have to.
Too big to rig.
I mean, that's the only way forward.
Let's pivot. Let me take over.
Yes, sir.
Let's pivot for a second, away from politics. Well, sort of politics. Let's go back to before Trump tore a hole in the space-time continuum when he came down that gold escalator in 2015. Mm-hmm. I guess it was 15.
Came to Madison Central.
Yeah. Well, when he came down that escalator and announced he was running as a Republican, let's pretend we're at the day before that. Who's your favorite band, politics aside?
Motley Crue. Yeah,
Motley Crue, Poison,
stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I can't really say I have a favorite, but I have a group of favorites.
99 days out of 100, it's
Poison.
The one out of 100 is Motley Crue.
Whatever.
They came out with they dropped a new song yesterday, the remake of "Fight for Your Right to Party," Beastie Boys song, and they did a really good job of reimagining the song. And I was just listening to it, enjoying it, and knowing that Tommy Lee's and Nikki are Democrat nut jobs. Even though Nikki moved out to Wyoming to get away from the nut jobbery that he supports, I just find it so comical. They want to destroy everything, then they run. Move away, run away from it. It's like, well, thank y'all for setting the building on fire and leaving. But Ricky Rocket and Poison, same way.
Right, I understand.
I don't know. I assume Brett's conservative. I believe he is. The fact that he doesn't talk about it makes me tend to lean towards he's conservative.
And you know what's cool? A lot of musicians are not.
Yeah.
But they just don't talk about, which is smart. They just don't talk about either.
Well, so many just lost their ever-loving mind after Trump came down that gold escalator, and it's ruined a lot of things for me. Music, sports.
It's ruined a lot for me, sir.
Me too. And I've tried to put that back in the box a little bit, but like last night, I was on YouTube and I found a Pearl Jam video live from Barcelona, and it was Yellow Ledbetter and nothing political in it. And I just enjoyed the song for the song, but I just couldn't help but think what a nut job.
Eddie Vedder.
And it's not that you're just a Democrat. It's that they feel like they have to beat us upside the head and call us all Nazis and racist and white supremacist and all these things. And I was thinking about it the other day. I actually made a little video about it. I was like, did y'all think that we were just going to sit back for the last 8 years and be called all this stuff and not eventually fight back, or not look at what y'all have done to your black Democrat cities and the death culture and all this stuff and start calling it out for what it truly is? Did y'all think we were just going to sit back and stay shut up forever?
Right.
I mean, at some point we were going to start fighting back, and I fight back with my wallet. And I'm not partaking in quote unquote cancel culture, but I'm spending my dollars where I feel like they're appreciated.
Well,
when I can.
It's just like I heard on the way over here. It may or may not be true, but I certainly wouldn't doubt it. On X/Twitter, that, you know, the Foo Fighters, because Kennedy came out last night with "There Goes My Hero" or whatever. Dave Grohl immediately posted, "I'm suing them for using that, and we're going to take all the money that we make off the lawsuit and put it into the Kamala campaign."
You know, I just don't feel like why do you have to say that?
I mean, why and why did Dave Grohl have to basically say that you are the problem if you don't get a shot? You are the problem. You're killing people. You're killing folk.
Yeah.
I mean, that just makes me take a band that I actually like. And
I like them more than Nirvana.
Me
I'm a
way
Nirvana
more.
fan,
I loved the Foo Fighters because straight up American rock and roll band. Well, we thought they were American. I'm not sure that their belief system's so constitutional anymore.
I would love to sit down with a Democrat with some sense and them try to explain to them how anything that their party represents is pro-America.
They can't.
Can you give me one policy that benefits Americans?
And then throw in and explain that without using Trump's name. Now, you were saying Trump the day before he came down the escalator.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you know, something non-political to talk about that would wind us back into our love of music, but it still turned political, you know, because it was just like
they've done that to us.
They have. I mean, but like if you go back and just you didn't know their politics at all, who would be your favorite band? And
right,
you know, pre
right.
the space-time continuum being torn in half.
Well, and the thing that Clay and I have always liked, and, you know, certain guys for some reason always got their panties in a wad. I mean, why do you like Poison and Motley Crue and Def Leppard? I'm like, I would rather go to a concert where there's a bunch of beautiful ladies instead of a bunch of
angry
dudes hanging out mad with black T-shirts on and a biker chain. I mean, it was just more fun to me.
Yeah,
sorry.
It is funny. It is funny when you think back. I know because we get pegged as not that kind of pegged Democrats. Not that kind of pegged.
Definitely not.
We get pegged as being anti-trans because we speak out against the nut jobbery and, you know, like men dressing as women and stuff. But my favorite bands were some really hot chicks.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't chicks.
And honestly, you know,
but they were doing it to get chicks. I mean, that was just the time in which we lived, the glam stuff.
Yeah, because I certainly can't say anything about never wearing makeup. I can't, you know, I mean, good Lord. But there's a difference between, in my opinion, take it for what it's worth, there's a difference between a tranny and a guy with some makeup on playing rock and roll music. It's just because the time was, the chicks actually liked that. And back then, before we had all this hatred in this country, it didn't matter.
Well,
it just didn't matter back then.
No. It was just a thing. You know, it was like the more like a chick you look, the more chicks you got. I mean, I was a little young, you know.
But we just posted some pictures, so if people don't believe, they're welcome to go look.
I came to age during the grunge era, but I wasn't a grunge fan. That's when I was transitioned, not that kind of transition, Democrats, into being a hip hop fan, rap fan.
I remember.
And you know, for 10 years, that was my lifestyle. You know, I was a little white thug, and maybe longer.
But the Chronic was one of the best records when it came out.
And then rock made a comeback. The rock star made a comeback with Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock.
True.
And different kind of rock star, but Korn and like that new metal wave came, and the rock star became cool again. And there was actually rock stars.
Finally.
And you knew the band member's name. But God bless Three Doors Down. I love them. They've survived, but the bands like Three Doors Down, that great music, that post-grunge, I guess is what they call it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was trying to say. Anyway, those are just very vanilla looking bands. And again, I love Three Dwarfs. They're one of my all-time favorite bands, but I just use them as my example here. We know Brad's name. We know those guys' name.
But they're local to us.
Yeah, but there's a ton of other great bands that, like, their songs come on, they have massive #1 hits. But you could be at the gas station beside those guys and not know them. That's fine, but I want to go. I want
to see Steven Tyler. I want to see Brett Michaels. I want to see
one of my all-time favorite bands is 7 Mary 3.
Great band.
There could be 4 of the guys. They could be sitting in here, and if you didn't tell me they were 7 Mary 3, I would have no idea I was sitting in a room with 7 Mary 3.
No, bro, they work down the street over here at Lowe's. And I mean. Nothing wrong with. I'm not knocking their talent, but that's the truth.
But I would recognize the singer of Collective Soul because he's kind of a rock star.
He does.
Can't tell you his name off the top of my head.
Me either, but if he was sitting here, I would know look.
Him.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Like he's got that swagger, that rock star swagger. And he's from the South. They're from Georgia, you know, which is cool.
And you know, another good band was Collective Soul.
100%. I mean, those guys have had like 7 or 8 #1 hits.
Mm-hmm. Great band.
Speaking of bands that have had a bunch of #1 hits, and they got the current #1 rock song in the country, 20 plus years. I guess they came out in 2001 or 99 or whatever. Anyway, Papa Roach
great band.
has got they're this next generation's all-time great American rock. They're the next Aerosmith.
I agree.
I mean, if you're just looking at longevity and catalog, I mean, they've gotten to the point now where they have to leave #1 hits off the set list.
I like it.
They've had so many.
Right.
Now, I haven't even heard the new #1. It's a duet with one of the female country people. But just my point, I saw that it was the #1 because it was her first #1 rock single. And I've been trying to make a point to listen to it. I was listening to the Scars acoustic on the way over. Still one of the all-time best songs.
And you were around when they first came around.
Brought them to Crazy 8 in Byram.
Right there on Interstate 20. 55, sorry.
Valentine's 2002. Because we opened in August of 01, and by Valentine's of 02, maybe it was 03, maybe we'd been there. No, it was 02 because we didn't expand till after that concert into the back half of it. So we put 1,500 people, something like that. The building only the fire code was 500. We put 3 times the fire code in there. But, yeah, that was one of the bands we brought. And, you know, we brought some really cool bands to town when nobody else was. Breaking Benjamin on their way up, discovered the band One Less Reason. Got them down
Fantastic.
here. You know, that was you and I. I think I discovered them, turned you on to them, then
That's
we brought
right.
them to Hallowell's and didn't do nothing. But Nate West discovered them in the meantime, and we brought them back with "If You Want Me" was the #1 song in radio. You know, we used to really do cool stuff here, and that's why you mentioned earlier that I've also interviewed rock stars and all that. Like that's another part of my platform that people who choose not to see don't see.
That's right.
Like the people who say I only talk about negative stuff. For the most part right now, that is kind of it because it's hard to get interviews because everybody's such nut jobs that if you're remotely conservative, they're scared to interview with you because they don't want to be called a Trump supporter, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Of course,
like you're coming to Mississippi to play in front of a bunch of Trump supporters, but you're scared to interview with somebody because you're worried that you'll get called a Trump supporter or a racist or a Republican. It's just so weird, man.
Right. Except for that time not too long ago when Ted Nugent played here. He didn't really care.
No. Ted, I didn't talk about an interview
Let's
with him
go,
either.
Brandon.
Yeah, that was good.
That was the first thing he said.
Well, what was funny is,
he was in Brandon. How about that?
It was in Brandon. And what's his name? Apparently the lieutenant governor was there that night, and he supported Chris McDaniels from the stage. He said, "You got a rhino lieutenant governor," and I stand with Chris McDaniels. I just thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, old Ted, but Papa Ted, he's never had a problem letting people know how he feels, and I don't blame him. No, and he's never had a problem being fake. It is what it is. If you like him, you like him. If you don't, he doesn't care, and that's the way it should be with all of these celebrities. But I understand that's not the way it's going to be. But my whole thing is, I wish a band like Foo Fighters, for example, we're talking about Papa Roach. I don't hear Papa Roach out running around dogging Trump. Now, they may not be Republicans or they may not like Trump, but they're not out running their mouth.
They understand that they got a lot of fans.
They have a lot. Now, I wouldn't be mad at Dave Grohl, and I would still be loving on some Foo Fighters if he hadn't have told me that I was the reason that people were dying and I had to go get a jab.
And that's the difference. You bring a great point there. I don't care what your politics are. I mean, I would prefer us share politics.
Right. But don't tell me.
Yeah. I don't want to support people just because they're conservative either.
I would rather you just not talk about it,
Yeah, like I'd rather just not know. Like, leave the illusion. And people say to me, well, you don't do that. Well, it's my job.
But that's different. They're entertainers. That's different.
My quote unquote fans or whatever you want to call it typically agree with me. You know what I'm saying? They listen because it's like-minded topics.
And how many actors have ruined their career by being so bent, like Robert De Niro and people like him?
I can't even go back and watch
Goodfellas,
their movies anymore.
I
can't take him
me
serious.
Either. Me either.
I can't take him serious.
And growing up, I freaking loved it.
No, me too, man. If there was a gangster movie that didn't have De Niro in it, and he's just a cunt.
And so many more, not just him, but that one.
Yeah, he's the loudest in the room.
He's
right
the
now.
loudest, yeah, and that's so sad.
Yeah, I can't watch it. I've been to one movie, no, two. I went to one movie. Went to go saw Twisters at the Renaissance IMAX a couple weeks ago. Hadn't been to a movie in over 5 years.
It's been about that
at
long
least
for me.
5 years, because for that very reason, they lost their minds and they told us they didn't want our money.
That's right.
These rock stars, these movie stars. I don't want Trump supporters buying my music or seeing my movies.
Then we won't.
Deal.
We won't. Then.
The terms are acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
I won't, and I quit.
So did I.
I went but I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed getting back in there, and it was like completely apolitical. I think there was quite the little DEI
I don't know
crew
that
at
much
the very
about
beginning.
the movie. I've heard
at the very
obviously.
beginning of it. There was quite the little DEI cast that kind of got killed in the first few minutes, but they did get killed off early, so all good. Other than that, I didn't get any DEI vibes about the movie. I enjoyed the whole IMAX deal and being able to pick my seat and recline. So the next week, I was just bored. I was like, was there anything else on in that? Not Iron Man, that current Marvel movie, Deadpool versus Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
I went and saw that at the Pearl movie, and I have not watched. I'd never even seen the first Deadpool, so I was a little lost on it.
I've only seen the first one. I haven't seen any of the rest of them.
So I was a little lost on the storylines, so to say. I knew Wolverine had died at the end of the Wolverine movie because I saw people bitching about it on Facebook, but people were bitching. They were bitching at people who ruined it because they hadn't gone to see it yet. So,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So spoilers. That's what it was. They were mad about spoilers. That's the only reason I knew he died. And I'm like, well, I guess I won't go see that now.
But you can't even try to watch mainstream TV anymore.
I have an 80-inch TV in my living room,
and they ruined it.
And and all I watch on it is podcasters on YouTube now because
they've
ruined entertainment.
They ruined it for me, man.
Like, I don't need it to be pro-conservative. I just need it to not be nut job liberal. Can it just
be middle of the road?
Can you just tell a story without
politics,
throwing some homosexuality in it for no reason? Throwing your politics in it for no reason.
They can't do it though. They just can't help themselves. They cannot do it.
They don't even.
I used to be a big fan of Law and Order 100 years ago. You can't watch that show anymore because that show's 100% DEI now.
Yeah, well, they've gotten so hung up on all this stuff they won't even use Middle Easterners as terrorists anymore. They won't use black guys as bank robbers. Or whatever. It's just that.
But they'll use me and you. I promise.
And they're racially appropriating traditional roles. Like we have now Peter Pan has to be black or whatever. It's like why are we? They've been white. Why are we changing that? Why don't you just create some new ones for you? Like Black Panther was an uber successful movie.
That's right.
That was created from scratch for a black character. The formula works. Do that.
That's right.
Quit turning Superman gay. Quit
shoving it down people's throat too. Shoving it down my throat. Look,
not that kind, Democrats.
Shoving it down people's throat though. They do that. They just do that. And that's unfortunate. And then the last thing I wanted to say before we get out of here, I know we ran way over, but whatever. We're having fun.
I can't just do an hour.
I know. We're having fun, and Clay is usually doing way longer than an hour anyway, so I knew he would be fine with
I
it.
think 3 hours is the magic number for a good long form sit down.
Yeah.
That's what Rogan does, and it's a bit exhausting at times, but it takes an hour to get comfortable.
Sure.
It takes the next hour to really start peeling back the onion, and then the third hour, whatever. I think 2.5 is the number. Just depending on what you're talking about.
So the number one question that I get when I'm out and about is, when is Clay Edwards, or when are you going to run for office?
I'm not.
And I said, well, I can't speak for Clay, but he's probably not.
No,
I've heard him say that on the air. But so when are you going to run, Clay?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. I think where I live, the politicians are doing a pretty damn good job.
That's always a big part of it.
I live in downtown Brandon. I think
That's right.
I think overwhelmingly, there's things I disagree with, and there's things that I say that they disagree with. But overwhelmingly, they're doing a good job. So I can't run for anything in Jackson. I wouldn't win even if I lived in Jackson. They're not going to vote for Clay Edwards.
Of course they're
not going to happen. Let's just be realistic here.
They're
It sounds fun to say, and I know I got some people that would support me, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate people who think that I could do it, and I probably could. Don't get me wrong, but I have a GED, and I have just in the last few years.
What's Kenneth Stokes have, though?
I don't know. He got a law degree. So just in the last few years, I've actually gotten good with money. Got good credit.
Right.
Become financially literate. I can't sit there and I'd be a hypocrite. There's smart people that know how to do things. I mean, I can be a bull in a china shop, but that's gonna fix some stuff.
That's only going to go so far.
That's gonna it would work in Jackson for a term.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to work in Brandon where you really got to do stuff and whatnot. And I understand that. I've been on this big rant about like Angelique Lee getting arrested in Jackson.
Right, I know.
She can't pay her bills,
Right.
which makes her susceptible to bribery.
Of course.
Bro, if she's being sued for, her wages were being garnished, this, that, and the other. If you can't balance your own checkbook, you don't need to be balancing the public's checkbook.
That's right.
And I got to hold myself to that same standard.
If you can't do a credit check on a council
you should
person,
have to at least be a 700 credit to run for office.
Yeah, I heard you say that on your show.
I think so. Or 680 or above.
Whatever, right.
680 or above.
Responsible.
I think I'm a renter. That's the other thing. I don't own a home. I think you should have to own a home. I just think that you need to be invested into your community, and I just think that that's the fair thing to do. I just think it doesn't need to be your full-time job either, unless you're the mayor.
Well, it's not supposed to be. I mean, if you go back to the forefathers, it's not supposed to be all these.
And I'm just talking about local level here, not statewide, but
I mean,
local. It doesn't need to be your full-time job unless you're the
But
mayor.
it wasn't supposed to be anybody's full-time job anyway.
No.
It just wasn't.
No. So to answer the question, I think I'm better suited being the mouth of the South than I am a politician.
I just get the question. That's all.
I
get it all the time, actually.
I think I can sway more voters than I can.
Hey, but you know what? That is very needed. It's very needed in this country, because if me and you were to sit back, and I'm not saying that me and you are the only ones doing it, because by far we're not. But if we were just to sit back and not do anything, I would be disappointed.
Yeah. Now, with all that said,
Really? I would be.
If my
or not saying anything, rather.
If my alderman or my county rep, my supervisor, in my neighborhood starts slipping, I may reconsider. But again, they're doing a good job.
Right. There's no need to mess it up if you've already got good people.
You're gonna make enemies, and frankly, bro, I'm not gonna do the catfish fry circuit and all that. I'm not gonna go.
Catfish fry circuit.
Yeah, I'm not doing all that it takes, all that hand grabbing and shaking hands, kissing babies, and all that. I have found my lane. I'm gonna stay in it. But I am honored that people would think that
they ask about both, and I'll just be honest with y'all. And I
can see you doing.
I've never even said this officially until now, but I am gonna be running for something.
I can see you.
I'm not saying that I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it is gonna happen. And y'all all out there be the first to know, because Darrell, he's like, Clay, we're going to put it out there for you to know.
Oh, yeah.
And
I also, let me say one thing.
But I'm not going to run for anything that would be out of my level. and I'm definitely not going to run for anything where people are already doing a good job.
Don't run for Congress your first time out.
Right.
Run for something you can win.
Right.
Or don't run for Senate.
You don't want to run for something out of your level because
you got to go raise $1 million to run for Congress.
That's right.
For starting, if somebody's talking about unseating Michael Guest, go get $1 million.
Right. They don't understand. A lot of people don't understand that, unfortunately.
No. You got $1
They
million
think,
bucks
I'm just going to go out and run against Benny Thompson. How much money would you really need to beat Benny Thompson? It would be in the millions, okay?
Like Ron,
millions.
Ron Elder's running. God bless Ron.
I love Ron, and I hope he wins, but you know the deal. You know the deal.
You're not going to win. You're not going to win that county. You're not going to win that district. I mean, it's designed for you not to.
Unfortunately,
just like my district is designed for a Democrat to not win. It's what they built. But whatever, God bless them. I mean, Trump's on the ballot. Maybe you get enough Republicans voting down ballot, and the people vote for the R. I don't see it.
That is the most important thing to at least try for, to shoot for, though.
Yeah,
is to down ballot vote. That to me is the most important thing to push for. Is it going to work everywhere? Oh, of course not. We know that. It's not going to work everywhere. But even if it works in these pockets like Mike Hurst was talking about, these certain communities where it might work, it may not, but it might work. Of course it's not going to work in all of them. It's not going to work in a lot of them. But if we could get it to work in a few of them, that is a stride over the next 4 years. I personally think that, I don't know for sure, but, it's looking kind of like, obviously, Shad White swinging for governor or something. Andy Gibbs possibly. Andy Gibbs, Gibson. I was thinking of Shadow Dancing, the Gibbs. Andy Gibson possibly, Mike Hurst possibly. I don't know. But we'll see. I just know that Republican. Right.
Shad. It's going to be Delbert. He's saying
Delbert's
he's going to. I think he's going to be too old by then. A lot's going to happen in 3 years. You got Shad, Delbert. What was it?
Gibson. Maybe.
Andy, Lynn Fitch, and
I forgot about
Lynn. I'm almost positive Lynn's going to throw her hat in there, and also one of the Duff brothers, the billionaires.
Yeah, I know.
One of the only 2 billionaires in Mississippi, and their brothers that own Southern Tire Mart. He's taking a big look at it. But his problem, it's not a problem for me.
Yeah, I don't know him personally.
His problem is he's Mormon. I don't know that.
It's not a problem for me, but that seems like that would be a problem in the South.
I think so. I think it's going to be a problem in the South. I think he's better served putting his influence and money behind somebody else. And I think that would be better suited for him. But I love the fact that a billionaire is thinking about taking a pay cut.
It's just like Trump
to come run for governor. That is very interesting to me, and I would like to see I would love to see his policies.
Yeah, platform.
And his platform. I definitely, it made my ears perk up as somebody that's not a current politician, because these are all the rest of them. I have no problem with. I love Andy Gibson. I'm the president of the Andy Gibson fan club.
He's a super nice guy.
But these guys are all currently career politicians. Working their way up the political ladder. So I think Andy's best suited to be he may make a great governor, don't get me wrong, but man, he's right out of Central Casting. If Central Casting called and said, I need the guy to play the ag commissioner in Mississippi, they would send you Andy Gibson.
Yeah.
He's perfect for it.
Or the mayor of the Andy Griffith Show. He'd be perfect for it. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
He's iconic. No, he's iconic, man. And I think that he's best suited continuing to do what he's doing and helping Mississippi agriculture.
And he may do that. I don't know. It's early.
It is. And but I feel slightly obligated to support Andy because I just think he's such a good person.
Yeah, the few times that I've met him, he is fantastic.
His problem may be he's too
nice,
too Christian conservative.
Yeah, too nice.
I know he's bulldog when he needs to be. I think that I don't know. It's weird to say somebody's too Christian conservative, but I think he's so conservative that it actually scares me a little bit. And are we going to get back to banning more stuff? Are we going to censor stuff? Yeah. I don't know. I just, I would like to have a long conversation with him about it too, and really hear his thoughts. But I love Andy. He's been very good to me. his team down there at the all those guys that work for him have been really, really good to me. And I would love to see them be successful and take it to the next level. So I wouldn't have a problem with it at all. I don't want to see. I'm not pulling for Shad. I think Shad is somebody that obsessed with power is scary.
Agree.
Like he's so hell bent on notoriety and power that he's using the law to get it. I mean, like look what he's doing to Brett Favre is like what the Democrats are doing to Trump.
Right.
And that scares me.
Right.
Because if he'll do it to them, why wouldn't he do it to you or to me? So
Well, of course he would.
Yeah, exactly. So that scares me because that's how it comes across, whether that's it or not.
Yeah, I don't know
That's how it
personally because I
looks.
don't know him, but it does look that way. You're right.
It does, and he's burned every bridge politically in the state with that book.
I understand.
So-
I do know that much. Even though I haven't read it, I've heard a lot on your show from Sean and other people that have read it. It's we've known people in our past, Clay, that have burned a lot of bridges.
I don't think Lynn's got a chance. Just honestly, I mean, her track record is AG. She's got some people that work for her too that I love, and she's been good to me as also. I just think that she whether it's true or not, she comes across as a do nothing politician. I mean, it's like, what have you done? What have you done? Maybe it's lack of self promotion. Of maybe she has a messaging problem. Maybe she has done a lot.
And a lot of people do have a messaging problem.
But I can't tell you something that I'm like, man, Lynn Fitch did it for us off the top of my head. I'm not saying that she hasn't done anything. I want to make sure I get that out there right. And who was the last? Well, that's it. And we kind of hit all of them. So I think the Duff one really, really interests me as a Trumpian. Like I don't know his politics.
Yeah,
I know he's conservative, but I don't know his real politics. I haven't looked at who he's donated money to in the past to try to judge what his politics are, but it piques my interest a lot. And but if I had to pick one today,
that is going to run, would it be Delbert?
Yeah, I think Delbert was going to announce it in the show, but if anybody had asked him, the media didn't even ask him. That's what I was told by some very informed people.
I don't doubt it. I'm not laughing. I'm just saying.
To me, that's horrible. I mean, like he's proven he's a Democrat.
Oh, I know. I don't even know why he runs for Republican office.
But you can't win in Mississippi as a Democrat right now. Yeah. That's why you got a lot of people that are down at the Capitol who are Democrats pretending to be cosplaying as Republicans. And I think like Joey Hood is a great example of that.
I helped out on that one.
On that Safer Act thing.
I helped out on that one. I was giving out them numbers as fast as you were.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you got a lot of Democrats down there playing Republican.
And my thing on that one was he's for like Attala County or something.
I think like down south somewhere. I thought.
Oh. And I was thinking to myself, how could a guy be from that part of the state?
I think he's from the coast area, but
and be that douchey.
I don't know. Like I said, and there's some other statewide rep. I've heard David McRae has got bigger plan, maybe lieutenant governor. I like McRae. Have you met him?
I have. He's
treasurer.
What I know of him, right? He's very cool.
I've been to his cabin a couple times at Neshoba on Politics Day, because it's open to the public. He's
Sure.
really nice. Had a couple good conversations with him. I like him. He's from money. I'm not intimidated by people from money, especially like second generation money that have managed it well and not blown it all. I think that says a lot about their ability for self-control.
And their character.
And their character. Yeah, because that's the other thing. Like if I'd inherited millions of dollars, I would have spent millions of dollars.
I mean,
you know
20,
what I mean?
30 years ago, you should
now no.
You shouldn't have given me and Clay millions of dollars. We may not be alive. I mean, honestly.
No, there's a famous quote. I don't even remember who it was about, but I remember the quote, and it says, "Never should have given them boys any money." That would be.
But
me.
a lot of people say, "Well, Darrell, you say that, but some of your quote idols, like Brett Michaels or whoever, they're still around." I'm like, yeah, but
they're still making a lot of money. A lot of those guys, anyway.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
I mean, it's a catch-22. I don't know personally if I would have still been around or not, but I do know that I would have blown the damn money.
Circling back to the governor thing real quick, it's 3 years away. We have
I know.
It's going to go back to what
Super
happens.
early.
It's going to go back to what happens November 5th with the election. Because I think if
A
Trump,
lot of things go back to that.
I think if Trump wins, like there could be there's some dude out there right now that we've never heard of that could be the next Trump from Mississippi.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it could be somebody come out of nowhere, like Robert Foster. I love that guy. He ran for governor.
I remember.
You know, you can get another Robert Foster type that just comes out and they say the right thing and it resonates at the right time, and boom, with the power of social media, anything can happen.
Hell, even 70 days is a lifetime in politics.
Yeah,
What can happen before November 5th seems like only a few months, because it is. But in politics, that's a long time.
3 years ago, I was married. It was COVID, and I was working at a job. No offense to the people that employed me; they're great people. I was just working in a job in a career that I hated.
I remember.
You know what I mean? And now I'm living my dream.
That's right.
You know, and it's my point being, anything can happen over 3 years is a eternity.
That's right.
Eternity. You know, who knows?
And in
what
politics, on the president level, like the election cycle right now, even this 70 days, because of the way the cycle changes, look what's happened in the last, like we started this conversation out like this. Look what's happened in the last 3 or 4 months, y'all.
well, look, they're gonna try to kill Trump again.
I know, and maybe Kennedy.
Yeah, and I'm still not convinced that they won't be successful. My prediction is if the deep state goes after Trump, it's going to be it's going to be a plane crash. That's how they're going to get him. If the bullet didn't work, they've had to step security up. I think that the way, and you take out the whole dirty dozen, if you do it, they're telling who all would be in that plane.
That's right.
I think they figure out a way. Some CIA operative, deep state mechanic does something to the engine. I know that's conspiratorial, but they've killed presidents before.
That's right, and they've already tried to kill him.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I think that depending, especially if he gets ahead and gets a big enough boost in these polls, and they can't control that, and they lose the narrative. Yeah. If I'm Trump, I do a basement campaign. I don't leave the house. It worked for Biden.
It definitely worked for Biden. You're right.
I mean, these rallies are great. They're fun. They're nice. They get people energized. I don't know that it makes a nickel's worth of difference, you know, for voters. I mean, those are people who are clearly fired up to go vote for Trump. I will say, though, when he was still a candidate and he came to the Coliseum, a lot of people went for the, lack of a better term, shit show factor of all of it, the mystique, that weren't Trump supporters, and they got to see it and became Trump supporters. So maybe I'm wrong on that, but I don't know. I just think we're so polarized now.
Didn't we see each other, or were you not at that one when he came to Madison Central?
Yeah, but I was out in the overflow on the football field.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Me and Corey went to that one, and we were where we parked at back behind the stadium. His caravan came through. And he was sitting in the front seat of the passenger side.
I remember
and
that.
I pointed, I was like, Trump, and he pointed at us. You know, he has no clue who I am, but it was a cool connecting moment. You know, where
but that's when he first came out. I mean, and I was all over Facebook at the time, which was basically the only social media at the time. But you know, saying that Trump was going to win, and everybody said there's no possible way he's going to win, and I had a gut feeling. And I'll be honest with you, my gut feeling in 2020 was that Trump was going to lose, not because not a fair election, but I had a gut feeling he would.
They weren't going to let him win. I mean, he just knew. I mean, it was just my gut feeling. I've got that same. I'm torn. There's days I feel like it's going to be an absolute landslide, like I told you the other day, a 48-state win, minus New York and California. And then there's days that I know that they've had that border wide open for 4 years for a reason. Because, bro, if they can flip Texas, it's over.
Oh, I understand that.
Nothing else matters.
Understand that.
You know, the Midwest. The Midwest don't matter.
None of it.
The blue wall. None of it matters if they steal Texas.
Yeah, Texas is everything. Just like with her, if they don't flip Pennsylvania, I mean, if he flips Pennsylvania, it's over for them.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Darrell, I've had fun, bro.
Absolutely, bro, and I appreciate it. Before we get out of here, though, one more thing, y'all. Please, dear God, it's this important. when you're out there voting, don't just not do it. Please, me and Clay talked about this on the phone. It's our duty to go freaking vote, y'all. Clay Edwards said it the other day to me on the phone. We might have been some screw-ups in our younger age, but we always voted, and we still vote. Not only is it your right to vote, it's your freaking duty to vote. Now, I am so tired of people complaining about their circumstances and they did not go vote. Okay?
I'm tired of you that went and voting Democrat complaining about your circumstances too.
Yeah.
No, hey, look, I see a comment up on the screen there from Chris. It says, "Who is the they exactly y'all are referring to?" You people. That's just Democrats. That's who I'm referring to.
I can't read it from here.
Yeah, I
I'm
just happen
sorry.
to see it. There's the bottom one. Who is the they that's going to steal the election? It's the Democrats. They're going to attempt to. I mean, they were able to do it. They were able
Successfully do it.
That's what I find funny is they swear that Trump somehow stole 16 as a guy who had never been a politician. But he couldn't maintain it in 20.
Right.
We're supposed to believe he stole 16, but he couldn't do it as president in 20. I'm very, very concerned that they were able to do it allegedly in 20, and they weren't the president. What have they been able to gerrymander and screw up and concoct in the last 4 years in full control? That needs to concern everybody. And we just I want to prepare people. I normally like to give you a shot of hopium, but I want to prepare you. You got to go vote. You got to make it too big. They can't print enough bullshit ballots. You got to make it too big to rig. You got to get out and vote, even here in Mississippi. Again, we're a purple state, not a red state. Don't get it twisted. There's a lot of Democrats here.
Yeah, and also they will. If you don't, they will. They'll go vote.
Yeah,
If you don't, even take the cheating out of it, they will go vote. So why shouldn't you go vote?
They're going to line up buses.
Yeah, they'll go vote. Even with or without cheating, they'll go vote.
I got one funny on the way out of here.
Absolutely.
I got some numbers here real quick.
I can't read all that, but some of those comments expect some responses.
I got
later.
I got some numbers here. So I've got about 250,000 across the board, if you count all my social media.
Yeah.
250,000 followers. How many registered voters do you think there are in Hinds County?
Registered or just
registered voters in all of Hinds County as of 8/8/24?
Oh, I don't know.
Just take a guess.
In Hinds County?
Hinds County.
50,000.
About 143,000. In Rankin, 85, 7. So just 86,000 registered in Rankin. 150,000, just rounded up to 150,000 in Hinds County. Now, less than 200 people legitimately live in Hinds County. They live in all of Jackson. 13,000 people voted in the Jackson mayoral election.
That's right. I remember hearing that.
So anything.
I wonder how many registered voters are in Madison County.
And I guarantee you the overwhelming majority of those voters, they were bussed in on Benny's buses.
Yeah,
and all that. And
I did a poll watching thing, and I went to the precinct.
You said Madison.
Madison
I got
County.
those numbers.
I just wondered.
Well, in Madison County, you have 38,439 Republican, 28,275 Democrats registered.
So in other words, about 60 grand under.
Yeah, right at 60,000 in Madison County.
Should be way more for the size of this county.
It is. So you've only got 10,000 more registered Republican voters. That's why Madison is an interesting county.
It is, because part of it's
so Democrats vote, son. Democrats vote,
and they show up. That's what I keep saying. They all show up. And look, if you can't show up, call somebody. Somebody will take you to show up.
Early voting. Yeah. Just they're going to ask you if you're going out of town. Lie.
Yeah, just tell them you're absentee. Just tell them you got to work, can't vote.
I'm going to.
Got to work, can't vote. Got to work.
Yeah, just tell them. I mean, we Republicans got to embrace, and I know we got to go. Republicans got to embrace early voting and mail-in voting, and accept that the Democrats have. And if you wait to the day of, look at what happened in Arizona. If you wait to the day of, you are running the risk of shenanigans. Make sure y'all follow me on social media at SaveJXN across all the platforms. Listen to my radio show Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. 103.9 FM WYAB if you don't already know. Darrell, thank you, brother.
Get your podcast out too.
Yeah, just search Clay Edwards Show wherever you download podcasts, stream music. I'm gonna take this and load it up to my YouTube this evening or tomorrow, so it'll be available if you missed any of it.
Yeah, mine's Unleashed Entertainment Talk. I'm calling this show Commitment to America, but we're going to put in parentheses Commitment to America, Mississippi style.
And Audio Alchemy, guys, we talked at the beginning of this.
Yeah,
thing.
I wanted you to push this guy.
We talked at the beginning about finding your voice, and that's one of the biggest things. The number one thing people tell me when I meet them out in public is, "Thank you. You say the things that I wish I could." Guys,
right.
You can. They can't cancel all of us. You can say it.
We still do have a free country, even though they act like we don't sometimes.
You can say it. Now you got to walk a highway. It's a highway act.
Oh yeah, I know.
But you can say find your voice, even if it's not political. If you like talking about whatever,
Diets,
music,
diets,
sports,
food.
college football is huge around here. Everybody thinks they're a college football pundit around here. Start a podcast about it. Come out here, see Daniel. It's affordable. I'm not going to get into talking about his rates and stuff on here, but he can tell you. The phone number is 601-672-6591, Audio Alchemy Productions. It's a great opportunity to decide if you and some friends can sit around and chop it up just like me and Darrell did. It's easy. We just sit here and dispute our opinions. You add a third person in here, and it's even
Right.
The hardest part is just staying shut up long enough to let the other person finish their thought.
That's right.
I get so excited. I'm like, and I'll forget what I want to say too if I don't interrupt sometimes. But
I love the fact that today was just real, dude.
yeah.
All right. And thank all of y'all for tuning in. Please, please keep this guy in mind. He did a great job. I've done one other podcast here. Clay's done quite a few. And also check out Raising Liberty. Lindsay Beckham is out there busting her butt.
Yeah, she's going to be my co-host on Mondays, every Monday, starting this Monday on the radio show. So looking forward to having Lindsay. We're gonna be hitting less local and more what I call the libs of TikTok content.
Right.
The straight up culture war stuff. Yeah. And
she's perfect for that.
She is. She main veins that, and I'm looking forward to it because anytime you can add somebody of her capabilities to the mix, you do it. You find a spot on the team.
It's like adding our Riley Gaines, except for she's not an athlete, but other than that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. When you have a chance to get a star player like that on the team, you find the room for it. So.
Yeah, and I want to shout out to Kim. She's the same way on my show.
100%.
Little Kim Steinberg has a podcast called SK Podcast, and they're saving up money to do some here with Daniel, and I think they'll do fine because they're not scared to turn the mic on and just talk.
Yeah, and one last thing, if you're a business owner out there or somebody that's in sales, consider sponsoring your favorite podcast. It is
absolutely.
It is super affordable to sponsor this, even if it's just paying for the hour.
That's right.
That it costs to do this. It's not expensive, and once a week or however often they choose to do a podcast, you get a lot of ROI. It doesn't have to be 10,000 views to get a loyal. You can have 100 people that listen, and if they're true supporters, that's 100 right. people who are going to get out and support your potential sponsorship. Reach out to whomever your favorite podcaster is.
And so many people go back and find these things later.
Oh yeah, it lives in forever.
Right.
I mean, I have people go back and discover my show. I was like, I'm on episode 20.
Yeah.
I just did my 820th.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
I'm at like 300.
We hit the 800,000 total downloads, and that just mean like audio only.
No, I understand. Yeah.
Which I think it's an accomplishment.
Because we're both on Podbean, I understand that.
Yeah, because that's not a social media
right.
outlet. There's no timeline. There's it's people had to track that down, go to specifically listen. They didn't accidentally hit play on your podcast.
Correct.
So those numbers, we're getting close to hitting 1 million. For a little old podcast about Jackson. So I'm really proud of that. Can't wait to hit that 1 million. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't open up more listeners.
No, but it's great.
It's a really, really important milestone.
It also means that 1 million people listen to you.
Yeah. Or 10,000 listened 10,000 times or whatever comes up to 1 million. But whatever. Yeah. I'll take it. However, a million's a million.
Period.
And I'm excited about it.
All right, Clay, thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
I enjoyed it, and y'all have a great day.
Daniel, thank you.